Guys, I represent the currently 36th district. As Rip said, we're all changing. Soon to be the 34th. Currently represent Fairfax County, Prince William County, and Stafford County. Got a couple constituents here, I see. Hey guys. My new district will be 100% Fairfax. So I'm here to talk. I'm carrying several actually energy bills. I'm here to talk about one. I don't know the number. You guys probably do. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Has to do with the Commission on Utility Regulations. So first of all, I just want to say, you got to think. First of all, think of yourself as a player in a longer, much longer battle that we're fighting here, right? When I got elected in 2009, when I came down here, clean energy, solar, energy efficiency were all bad words. Okay, you could not speak to anybody on the Republican side about it. Chris Stolle at the time, I remember, put in a bill that had to do with climate change and rising seas in Virginia Beach. And they told him he had to take climate change out of the bill and had to rename it as a bill about increased recurrent flooding. So we don't have those fights anymore. Okay, now we're no longer fighting about whether climate change is happening or not, or whether it's occurring, or whether we need to do something. We're all talking about how to do it and who's going to pay, right? We're studying facilities, stuff like that. So it's actually a bipartisan conversation, right? And the bill that I have is a lot about transparency, oversight, and increasing sort of citizen engagement. We have a body called the Commission on Utility Regulation. It was created in 2003. I think it's met twice in the last 7 years. It's met maybe like 6 times in the last 10, something like that. But this commission is where we're supposed to go and seriously debate utility policy, and it never meets. So the consequence of that is that whenever we do debate big bills, like Rip Sullivan's big bill a couple of years ago, the Clean Energy Act, it gets a total of maybe 20 or 30 minutes of public discussion in a committee meeting. And just imagine trying to talk about bills that move around billions of dollars in 20 minutes in a committee meeting. It really limits the opportunity for civic engagement, for dialogue, for debate, right? It limits opportunities for input. It limits transparency. You all don't get to hear us speak about why we're doing what we're doing or why we're not doing what we're doing, right? And so what this bill on the CUR does is it changes all that. This one thing I want you to think about. Dominion's revenues last year about $15 billion. APCO's are about $3 billion. There's billions more that are spent on other types of power producers, some of the bigger guys that are buying energy from other places. Our general fund is about $50 billion. Okay, so we are spending another half our general fund through these utilities, right? And we're barely talking about this policy in public compared to how much time and effort and energy we put into our state budget, which is about $50 billion a year in terms of the general fund piece that we allocate, right? So what this bill does is it requires the CUR to actually have meetings every year. That's a good thing. It adds a couple citizens, so we get not just legislators sitting on it, but a couple citizens. It requires bipartisan representation. Right now in my chamber, there's only Democrats on it, which is actually, I think, a bad thing. You need to have people from both sides if you want buy-in on these issues, right? It also requires us to get reports on all the laws that we passed, like the bills that these guys have passed and I've passed over the last 3 years, to see how implementation is going as we move these billions of dollars around, to see whether we need to make tweaks or adjustments or changes. It also requires us to do studies, hear bills that get referred to us. About 2 years ago, there was a whole bunch of bills to reform the rate-making process. They got referred to us. We never had a meeting, right? It also gives us, very importantly, and especially if you're speaking to people on the House side, 7 staffers. We need to have professional policy staff. We need to have an executive director. We need to have an attorney. We need to have some policy staff so that we don't have to rely on industry lobbyists, or, no offense, you guys, for all of our information. Okay? Right? We don't have professional policy staff right now. Okay? So, my policy staff is me. Okay? So, I'm scared. Just think, we're moving around billions of dollars, okay? And so this gives us professional policy staff. We rely on for recommendations about what the right thing to do is, whether people are spinning us one way or the other, or whatever, right? So the bill also creates a little energy fund that allows us to spend on energy innovation at Virginia universities if we get money's appropriated to us. But doing policy this way would be a huge change from what we do right now. Because right now, again, nobody gets to hear us debate or have dialogue or explain what we're doing. These meetings happen so fast you're lucky to hear like 3 members speak at a hearing about why they're voting the way they are or whatever. Most of the hearing is taken up with these lines of like 20 people getting to speak for women in peace, right? So this would change everything, I think, in terms of how we make utility policy in Virginia. And so it's really a sort of fundamentally important bill to help us do the transition, do it right, create more public faith in how we do business, create more public faith in that we're doing it the right way. I think it'll help us build actually bipartisan interest in good utility policy, climate change. You know, some people right now just think it's a big, you know, sort of Arlington conspiracy or something. It's not, right? So go downstate, it's a different planet. So that's what my legislation is, and you know, you all being here today to help support it, to help validate it, really goes a long way to make people understand that there's people watching and paying attention. This isn't just some, you know, Scott Surovell harebrained ideas we came up with because he wants to go to more meetings. So please talk to people. Please talk to them. We have bipartisan support, by the way. It's myself and Kilgore, who's usually not identified with the kinds of things you all will lobby on, but he wants to have more engagements too. So please, I'm so happy you're here and happy to be in the fight with you, and I think we're going to have big success this session. So thanks for coming.